My name is Taylor Grenier, and this is my final presentation for technical communication. I did a user manual on how to become a rugby player, also known as rugby. Here's my table of contents. It starts with the history of rugby, then goes into rules that are used on the pitch, basic terminology, and positions on a rugby team, and field dimensions at the end. I used 9 illustrations total in the user manual. And here's the summary. This basically just says that the manual is going to teach the reader how to be a rugby player through, it's going to explain the rules, regulations, the positions on the field, and what their jobs are, common terms, and basically generally how the sport's played. In 1820 is when rugby first started. You would catch the ball and advance it by kicking it down the field to your teammates. There wasn't many regulations, not many players, and it basically became popular over time. In 1823, however, William Webb Ellis changed the game by running with the ball in his hands. This wasn't adopted till 1830s and not officially written in the rulebook until 1845. The rules of the pitch. Back in 1820s, there wasn't really many rules at all. There was unlimited amount of people. There was basic. It was brutal, really. Kids wore nails on the bottom of their cleats, and uniforms didn't match. And in 1867, however, the player count dropped from an unlimited amount to 20 players, and in 1876 it dropped again to 15 players. Uniforms weren't matching until 1871, and in rules today it's completely different. There's different penalties that can be called now: obstruction, unfair play, dangerous play. All account for different charges. A couple of examples of obstructions are running in front of the ball carrier, or blocking a tackler from the ball carrier, laying on top of the ball. Unfair play examples include knock-ons, forward passing, throwing into touch. Dangerous play, this is where it got completely different from back when they first started playing rugby in 1820. Dangerous play includes anything from trampling and stepping on people to kicking and tripping and dangerous tackling. Dangerous tackling wasn't really a big thing in 1820. You could pretty much tackle however you wanted. Now you're only allowed to tackle from the shoulders and under, and also while the player is off the ground is a big no-no on tackling. Playing the ball, players that have the ball can do 3 things. They can pass the ball to another player, kick the ball, or take a ball into contact. What that means is running the ball straight at the defender. Once the player's on the ground, they're no longer able to play the ball until they get back on their feet. It is the job of the ball carrier to lay, kind of like in figure 2-1, to present the ball to his teammates. This is general terminology. A ruck, this is when a player has gone down and multiple teammates are kind of fighting back and forth for possession of the ball. Players must be on their feet in the ruck. There's no hands in the ruck at all. No jumping on top of it. No intentional collapsing. All these are penalties that you could gain in the game of rugby. A maul is when another thing that a player can do, taking it into contact. He takes it in by kind of presenting the ball to a teammate behind him. The teammate then kind of holds onto the ball and latches onto the team at the same time and drives them up the field. Penalties for the maul include collapsing the maul, offside penalties, dragging opponents from the maul, or jumping on top of the maul. A scrum is a big part of the rugby game. Usually games are started with a scrum in midfield if the kick doesn't go more than 10 meters. Scrums usually involve the team's forwards, and the one back that's involved in the scrum is the scrum half. The backs, however, must be a distance of 5 meters beyond the back foot of the number 8 man. But we'll get into that later in positioning. As far as the scrum goes, basically it's just two teams pushing against each other to fight over who's going to get the ball or not. There's touch and lineouts. The touch line is this line over here on the right. Basically, that's what happens when a kick goes out of bounds or something of that nature. This player will throw into the line out over here, and basically they have two positions in this line out. There's a jumper and there's also lifters. Lifters will lift the jumper up, and the jumper will fight the other jumper for the ball in the air. You can't intentionally fight them in the air, but you just have to go for the ball in general. Positions on a rugby team. There's two different categories. There's forwards and backs. Forwards are the 8 players that start in the scrum. There's loose head prop, a tight head prop, a hooker, 2 locks, 2 flankers that are the blind side and open side flanker, and the number 8 man. The loose head prop and tight head prop just basically hold up the hooker in the front and give a pushing power in the front. The locks give support to the loose head prop and tight head prop. The flankers are on the outside. They act kind of like a linebacker in football, where their first job is the first man out of the backfield. And the number 8 man just offers support in the back for his team. Here are the backs. Number 9 is a scrum half. Number 10 is a fly half. The 12 is the inside center. 13 is outside center. 11 and 14 are wings. 11 would be a weak side wing, and 14 is a strong side wing, and 15 is the fullback. What the scrum half does is he's pretty much the quarterback of the rugby pitch. All plays are usually done through the scrum half, but every now and then if number 10 fly half sees a play for the backs, then the play goes over to the fly half, and they communicate heavily to each other. Inside or outside centers are usually the bigger players of the backs. They basically just take the ball into contact the whole time. Left and right wings are your final stopping power of the end beside your fullback. They are usually the quickest players on the field, and your fullback is your last resort of anything. Here's a rugby field. The 22-meter line is basically your closest distance to the goal. The 5-meter line, however, is where you can't pass once you've scored a goal. You can't pass that on a kick. The halfway line is about 50 meters from each side. It's kind of like your half of a football field. Each line on either side of the halfway line is a 10-meter line. This is your measurement for your kickoff, basically. And a 22-meter line over here as well with the 5-meter line. Your touch line is located 5 meters from the farthest left line, and that basically marks an out of bounds. Once you go out of bounds, it restarts play for the opposing team. And here's my works cited. Most of the rules and laws I got from the International Rugby Board. They're the ones that everybody uses their rules to play the game. Know How Sports was my rugby field diagram. Rugby School was actually where I get all my history from, and Basic Rugby Rules is just another easy way to find out more detail on your rugby rules. Alrighty, that concludes my presentation, and it was fun in the class. I really appreciate it. Thank you.